For decades, infrastructure meant scale, strength, and precision. But in an age of climate disruption and environmental decline, that model must evolve. Around the world, a quiet shift is underway. Nature is becoming the blueprint for resilience. Wetlands reduce floods, mangroves protect coastlines, forests secure water, green spaces cool cities and boost public health. These blue and green solutions restore ecosystems, create jobs, and protect the most vulnerable. Yet they remain underfunded, undervalued, and often ignored in mainstream planning. The OPEC Fund and its partners are forging a new path, embedding nature into national policy, unlocking capital for hybrid systems, and connecting land, water, and biodiversity. This is the next frontier of infrastructure. Join us in building it.
To all of our distinguished guests, Your Excellencies and Honourable Ministers, for joining us in this final session of the 2025 Development Forum brought to you by the OPEC Fund for International Development. I'll be hosting this closing session. I'm going to implore on our panelists, because of the interest of time, but also the fact that we've now created a standing room only situation. Short, sharp answers, please, and then we can move on and allow our guests to enjoy networking, bilaterals, and the beautiful city of Vienna. So we are talking about the green-blue future, rethinking infrastructure through nature. I mean, we've spent a lot of time today, certainly in this room, discussing the climate crises and also, you know, how to invest for the future and how to come up with innovative financial instruments, from catastrophe bonds to blue bonds and other mechanisms to mitigate against what the climate has done to endanger the planet and the environment. But what about the fact that Mother Nature can actually sometimes be a friend to development and not necessarily an enemy? This is a situation where wetlands, for instance, reduce flooding, or mangroves protect the coastline, or we're talking about building green parks to clean up and clean up the air in the cities. So this is a different kind of conversation. It's definitely solution-oriented, and it takes us into a completely new frontier where we look at how we can have a symbiotic relationship with nature to create the kind of infrastructure that mitigates against risks and perhaps in that way also reduce the costs. And so with those words, we're talking about the green-blue future. I'm not alone in this conversation. Choro Seyutev is with me, the first Deputy Minister for the Economy and Commerce in the Kyrgyz Republic, joined by Mr. Woo Chung-um, the Chief Executive Officer of the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. We also have Mr. Rajat Mishra, the Chief Investment Officer for the Asia Infrastructure Bank, and we're joined by Mr. Musab Alomar, the Vice President for Strategy at the OPEC Fund for International Development. Please welcome them warmly. And I guess I'll sit over here. Okay, so very briefly, I think, let me start off with you, Musab, and, you know, progress on climate financing. And what are we talking about here, the green-blue economy?
So, thank you, Lorato, and very good afternoon to everyone. So, we have set a 2030 climate finance target, and we are 6 years ahead of schedule. Today, we launched our second climate finance report, and I encourage everyone to have a look at that report. A lot of work has been done behind that report. And in the report, it mentions that climate finance represents 39.3% of all new financing in 2024, which put us close to our 2030 40% target. This tells you everything, Lorato. So, for the OPEC Fund, climate action is no longer aspirational. It's operational.
Right. Okay, so we're turning dreams into reality and into practice. Rajat, can I get a view from you, an investment perspective now on nature-based infrastructure and how it can deliver better for people and planet?
Thanks. So, infrastructure is affected by nature and it affects nature. So there is a symbiotic relationship. And the key is to identify upfront how your blue and green infrastructure can be blended with what we call the gray infrastructure to deliver maximum value in any infrastructure projects. And coming from operations, I'd just like to give you an example or two. For example, we just approved a project in Cambodia that is an irrigation project. And some of the important components are, for example, rehabilitation of old ponds, which not only leads to increasing water levels, it guards against lean period droughts. Then there are canals which have slope stabilization through green infrastructure. Now, it doesn't mean that it's 100% green. Of course, you use your traditional methods like concrete or cement as well. But the idea is to find an ideal solution to have long-lasting, impactful solutions.
Right.
So, and that is the core of our mandate.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chora, I'd like to bring you into the conversation, just a perspective from the Kyrgyz Republic on how you're developing a green development program, embedding nature-based solutions in the broader policy framework.
Thank you very much for your question. Dear colleagues, yes, of course, in the Kyrgyz Republic, we have a second part of green economy program. Last program finished in 2023, and today we start prepare a new program to 2025, 2029. And our program will include some sectors which include, for example, our national priorities. It is, for example, climate resilient agriculture, ecotourism, reforestation, and landscape restoration. For us, it is a very important problem. Also, we include a water problem because part of our green economy is water, for example, and Kyrgyzstan, like Tajikistan in our region, has a glacier. Our glacier very important for Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan too, because it is very important for agriculture of our region too.
Right, okay. I'd like to bring you in, Wuchung into the conversation, but I'm going to sort of preface it with a kind of a question that says, so when we talk nature-based solutions, do they align with climate mitigation? And that's a precursor because the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, which you represent, you're involved in a lot of mitigation, but you're also sort of focusing on clean energy transitions for emerging markets. So when we put everything into one pot, how have enhanced energy access for people been influenced by some of this thinking?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the OPEC Fund for Development for organizing such a wonderful event. I'm so happy to be here for many reasons. One is I love Vienna. Second, everyone's talking about MDBs, multilateral development banks. I came from the MDB after 30 years. But the reason why I'm really happy is because now I come from philanthropy, the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. And I believe Mr. Yang was mentioning about the importance of collaboration across all the sectors and all the players, including the philanthropies. And what we're trying to do is bring the systems thinking. Yeah. So we come from the energy angle, but there's plenty of room for collaboration between energy and all of the other sectors like agriculture and nature. For example, we are working on a transaction in Indonesia which will replace diesel to give renewable energy access to the fishermen so that they can actually have cold storage so that they can have high income with reduced waste in the fisheries. But one thing that we haven't looked at is how about the fishes in the ocean? For the fishermen to benefit, there's got to be fish. Now, for that to happen, you need to do the coastal restoration, and we are talking to several partners to see whether they can actually do that, which means restoration of mangroves, which will have carbon sink effect, right? So you have the whole system that's working together, and you got to look at it from the win-win perspective. You know, often people think about putting energy systems will be not good for energy, for environment, but both have such positive reinforcing impact on each other if you think from multiple angles. So it's very good that we have multiple players here discussing how we can solve the problem.
Musab, I'll bring the question back to you in terms of nature-based solutions aligning with climate mitigation.
So, hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, from our side, Lorato, as we look across the global landscape, there is one imbalance is clear. The green agenda that we have been hearing about on renewables, reducing gas emission, is in the spotlight. But somehow the blue agenda covering water systems, ecosystems, and wetlands remains underfunded and underprioritized. So this is a problem. Why? Because 90% of climate disasters are related to water. Are caused by water. And it is estimated that annually, annual infrastructure losses from extreme weather is around $845 billion US. So water isn't a side issue, it is a central connector for us. That's why in the OPEC Fund, we embed water into cross-cutting ecosystem smart interventions.
Okay, and just by saying that, you are reminding us that, you know, we spend so much time talking about the green agenda. Perhaps we also need to talk about a blue agenda as well. Rajat, any, you know, reflections on what's just been said and, you know, the work that you're doing? Could you tell us a little bit more about it in terms of scaling up for nature-based infrastructure solutions?
Thanks. So we have looked at, you know, a step forward. We are looking at nature as infrastructure. So in fact, a couple of years we got a report also of, which is titled Nature as Infrastructure. And some of the examples I gave you, so that we don't look at nature separately. It's a part of, inherent part of project design. And we try to use natural solutions, nature-based solutions as much as possible. So I gave you an example of you know, what we're doing in Cambodia. Another example in Sri Lanka, we are developing a landslide mitigation project in hilly areas, where again, it has a dual purpose. First is there are remote communities who get better access to roads which are climate resilient, you know, more, I mean, less vulnerable to natural disasters. And they're inherently is designed using nature-based solutions like, again, slope stabilization, using plantation, road elevation, and so on. But also look at the impacts on communities. I mean, these, they get quicker access to hospitals, schools, and so on. And there are some tea gardens in that area, and the tea gardens employ predominantly women. 80% of workforce is women. So they get better employment opportunities, they can commute easily, the children can access schools easily. And all this is possible because in the designing, we are taking nature as an inherent part of our design.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it speaks to a lot of those circular economy issues. Chora, let me bring you back into the conversation. I just found this astounding. The Kyrgyz Republic has 8,000 glaciers, and that's about 30% of all the glaciers that are found in Central Asia. So, to Musab's point about the blue agenda gaining some provenance, could you tell us about what you're doing around investing in blue infrastructure?
Yes, thank you for the questions. Yes, of course, about 30% of Central Asia total water originates in the Kyrgyz Republic. And as I say, water need not only for us, for Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan too, and Tajikistan. And we use only part of this water, and yes, of course, we need instruments and tools for financing of blue economy, green economy, for example, invest to the infrastructure, water infrastructure. And today, we would like, for example, take some resources from, for example, our organization or financial organization to make in the Kyrgyz Republic a green water fund or green Blue Water Fund, and the priorities of our fund is a modernization of our irrigation system, rehabilitation of reservoirs and other. And will be interesting not only on us, it will be interesting for our region too, and at first, yes, of course, for Kyrgyz Republic, because in last 30 or 40 years, our glaciers, volume of our glaciers reduced from 100 to 70%. Will be problem in future too, unfortunately.
Yeah. And what's your message to multilateral development banks in terms of how they can support that agenda?
My message is we need to make a sustainable consumption for regional, for every people, for every country.
Yeah. Uchung, just very briefly, your comment on amplifying the blue as well as the green, almost symbiotically.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, there's mutually beneficial way of doing things. And as I mentioned in the example of Indonesia, but in other parts of the world, we are trying to provide access to clean electricity to people in the Amazon region, leading up to Belen COP30. When we look at things from the lens of people and planet, what kind of problem people have, at the end, it's about poverty.
Yeah.
So when the poor people in the remote areas in Amazon region, if they have no source of energy, they're gonna cut trees.
Yeah.
So by using innovative technologies, like in the off-grid Amazon region, providing the distributed renewable energy that's coupled with battery storage, you can give them their livelihood. Then they will stop cutting trees, which will have a very positive impact on the environment as well.
And to that point, what are the barriers to emerging markets or countries of the emerging markets just adopting renewable energy?
It's actually not the technology. It's the financing that needs to come in, but it's the private sector investment that needs to come in, but it's the risk of investing. And there are two types of risk, I'm sure you know. Real risk, and there's a perceived risk.
Yeah.
Real risk you can do something about. Perceived risk is much harder to deal with.
Yeah.
That's where we come in, and that's where MDBs need to be much more risk-taking.
Yeah.
But because of the AAA restriction, there are certain things that they cannot go beyond. So that's where we come in, from the philanthropies with a smaller amount, but very flexible capital. We can take the financial position that nobody else can, which will hopefully unlock the money from AIB and the OPEC Fund and everybody else.
Okay, so we're seeing sovereigns, MDBs, philanthropy,
so it's
all hands on deck.
PPP, Public-Private Philanthropy Partnership.
Absolutely. Okay, and you've just referenced COP30, so perhaps very briefly a comment from each of you as we round up. What would be your aspirations or hopes in terms of what comes out of COP30?
A more integration between the blue and green, as we mentioned, as you had heard from the panel. For us, blue and green integration, or the mitigation adaptation nexus, is an important topic for us leading into COP and leading to our 50th anniversary next year.
Fantastic. Rajat?
Thanks. So, I mean, we set ourselves a target of 50% climate finance by 2025. Last year, we were already at 67%. So two-thirds of our approvals are already related to climate by volume. And I just hope we continue on this path, and that's our expectation, that everybody comes on board on that as well. Thank you.
What I wish is that the countries step up and meet their commitments. The developing countries, I'm not too worried about, because we have lots of initiative that's happening. For example, the Mission 300 in Africa, where each country will come up with the compact, which will develop the commitments and so forth. But it's a developed country that I'm a bit more worried about, whether they will be able to step up and be able to make the commitments or fulfill the commitments that they have pledged in the past.
Mr. Chora, COP30?
Thank you. I would like to stop on our sustainable water management at first, and sustainable water consumption. It is our very important points in the region.
Okay. And Saab, I'm going to give you the last word, because you've just referenced the fact that it's been 49 years of the OPEC Fund making sustainable, socially impactful investments. Next year is a huge year for the OPEC Fund. It's the Golden Jubilee. It's 50 years in a world of shifting priorities. What would you like us to really kind of focus our minds on in terms of priorities?
So thank you, Lorato, and thank you, everyone. So this is exactly the questions we are asking as we head towards our 50th anniversary in 2026. We have already, as OPEC Fund, in the past 5 years, committed $2 billion to the green, blue investments, those that address together climate mitigation and climate adaptation. And we have done a lot there, from restoring rice ecosystems to enhance water retention and food security in Guinea-Bissau, to building roads that are resilient to extreme weather in Malawi and across the world, and also in the Maldives, where we are the largest international and lead financiers in the water sector. We are expanding clean water there and sanitation across dozens of islands. Right. And last but not least, recently last month, we approved also a loan to Kyrgyzstan for a water supply and sanitation universal access program, and I think we're signing it also today. And the program is co-financed with the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the World Bank, where we combine all climate resilience approaches under it. So in addition to the $2 billion we've invested since 2020, we are putting platforms and partnerships in place so we can step up further. We have set up our Nature Solutions Finance Hub to help unlock bankable nature-based infrastructure. As we heard today, also our recently announced Island Resilient Facility helps move projects from concepts to construction, ensuring they are bankable. Our South-South Knowledge Hub will accelerate the adoption of integrated green-blue solutions across the Global South. And finally, we are implementing digital innovation to make our investments smarter, more scalable, and more inclusive. So as we look to 2026 and beyond, it is clear that the infrastructure of the past is not fit for today.
Yeah.
So we believe we have a generational opportunity to shape a development model that is not only bankable, but regenerative. Okay. So nature doesn't separate land from water or mitigation from adaptation, nor lives from livelihoods, and neither should we. We must design with nature, as we heard from our colleagues here in the panel, not against it, and drive resilience for people and planet. Thank you.
All right, so reiterating people, planet, shared prosperity. Let me thank you, gentlemen, for your time. And I think in terms of what you've just done for us now, articulating what the next chapter, the next 50 years for the OPEC Fund will look like as we go into the Golden Jubilee year, perhaps let's just reflect on it through this video and say thank you to you.
"50 years in the making. One gathering to ignite the future. Join us for the OPEC Fund's Golden Jubilee. Celebrate the legacy. Shape what's next. Be part of our journey."
Okay, so that was me walking off stage, disrupting your viewing. Next year is a really big year for the OPEC Fund for International Development. We hope to see you here as we think about leveling up, moving into a new era of inclusion, equality, sustainability, and global South cooperation. But you know, we emphasize South-South cooperation, but it's not to the exclusion of the rest of the world. It's in partnership with the rest of the world, and it's really about the global South saying, we are here, we have talent, we have solutions that are tailor-made for our local environment. We have local knowledge and expertise, and we have the dignity that requires that we are also at the table in the agenda setting. And so all hands on deck, mutual responsibility, collective action to make the world better, more modern and more inclusive. So we hope to see you next year. We hope that the 2025 forum was useful. It's certainly bigger than I've ever seen it. And I want to thank you so much for your time. And let's make it a really, really great year ahead. Thank you.